Hello, my name is Gradifix, and today I'm going to show you guys how to create a Roblox thumbnail like this. We need the program Roblox Studio. I put a link in the description on how you can get Roblox Studio. Then we have to use Blender or Cinema 4D. I'm going to show you guys how to do it with Cinema 4D. And after that we need Photoshop or GIMP, and I will show you guys how to do it with Photoshop. First of all, we need to get Roblox Studio and this plugin. The link will be in the description. You can just log yourself into your Roblox account, click on install, and you will have it in Roblox Studio. When we open Roblox Studio, we will be greeted with this welcome screen, and we simply click on Baseplate. After that, we will head on to the Plugins tab and click onto this Import Character plugin, which we had to install earlier. Then you can put in your Roblox name and click on Import. After that, you can click on Finish. And if we need other objects in the scene, we can simply go into the toolbox over here, into the left tab, and click on Models and search for something you need in your scene. I'm just going to look for a scene, and if you found a scene, you can double click it. Oops, it is over here. You can navigate by holding your right mouse button and moving around with WASD. We're going to move it to the far right, and I will save everything in my tutorial folder. So if you want to export everything, you can go to File, Advanced, Export as OBJ. I've got a folder over here called Export, and I will just call the file name 1. Then hit Save. Down here it says, okay, now it has exported everything, and we can close Roblox Studio. After that, we are going to use Cinema 4D, and I've put a link to my light setup and the Roblox rig I've made by myself in the description, that you can download it, and I'm going to show you how you can implement it into Cinema 4D. You have to right click Cinema 4D and open File Location. After that, we head on to Library and Browser, and we just drag it into here. After that, you can close that and open Cinema 4D. Okay, after we open Cinema 4D, we go on to Window and Content Browser, or simply press Shift F8. Then we press on this button over here called Presets and look for the Roblox rig. Simply right click and open, and we have put it into our scene. Yeah. After we added the rig into the scene, we can look into our export folder, and you can look for the skin over here. But we can make that easier if we go into File, Open, or press Ctrl O, and go into the export folder and double click on the OBJ file. I've already made a preset for Roblox. All you have to change is the scale to 35 centimeters, and make sure to import the materials in the MTL file. For that, press OK. Loads up here, and we have the scene. The base plate, you can simply delete it by clicking on it and pressing delete. Then we let all those materials load for a second. After that, we grab all of those materials that have a preview by control clicking it, dragging it to the left, and going into the transparency settings and making it to about 95%. Then we press onto this with a left click, hold shift and click onto the last one, go into Reflectance and disable it, and into transparency and disable it as well. With that, you can Control A everything, go into Editor, Texture, Preview Size, and go to No Scaling. If you have no idea how to use Cinema 4D or navigate in it in general, I suggest you watch a tutorial on the basics of Cinema 4D. Yeah, we can zoom in and look at the skin over here at the character. We can select it by going into select, first of all onto this button, and disable only select visible elements. Then we can hold the left click and go into the rectangle select mode. We can press Alt G, and after that we can press Shift and C and search for parent and go to unparent. Now we've got a null object with just the character. After we got that, we can simply select everything, press Shift C again to go into the search bar, search for select children, press enter, and now Shift C again and type in center is 2. Press enter. Now we have this object and the city over there. We want to get all of the objects of the skin that's not already on the rig over here. So we do that by going into the null object, selecting this guitar, the hat, the hair, the ears, the earrings, and the glasses. We can Alt G, that's again for having another null object, and go into this, enable access, and put it on the floor. We can press down the middle mouse button in order to get into this view and scale in on the character. We can simply hide the city for now. Okay, so now we want to place the guitar correctly. We're going to name it guitar. And you can look, it should be behind the back. After that, we take the glasses, rename it, put it into the place. We can go onto display and go into garage shading lines so we can see the skin. And we are just going to drag that down a bit to the left. So those are the ears, name it ears, hat, earrings, and that's the hair. After we did that, we can select the group, Control C in order to copy, go to window in our different project, paste it in, click on yes, go into the middle mouse button view again and scale it with going to, we are in the E select mode and we want to press T for going into the scale mode. Now we can just scale it down that it matches with the skin, press E again, and it is already in the middle. Okay, so now we are going to hide all of those by holding Alt and double clicking on this and then dragging down. Okay, so we are in the rig. Click on it, go into user data, rename it, and I'm going to name it like the username of the Roblox character. Uncheck locked and hidden, and we are going to drag in the skin. So we've got the export files and just drag it into head texture, press no, go back, put it into body texture, press no again. Then we zoom in on this face color, click the eyedropper icon and click onto the skin. So now we've got the skin color, and we can press on use face texture and use color fill faceless. So now we can use face texture that we want, drag it in and rescale it, for example. So now we want to add all of those assets that we put in order to make it move with the character. So we open this up, go into, and we have to look for the hat, the hair of over this, the red one, we can delete it or just hide it. We take the glasses, ears, hat, earrings, and the hair, and drag it down here into the head tab. We can take those and drag it onto layers and onto the layer of the rig. After that, we want to look where the other assets will go, and we will take the guitar and stick it onto the back. In order to do that, we are going to drag it into torso. After that, we're going to put it onto layers as well. After we did that, we can click lock and hidden again and go into face scaling. Unless it's already perfectly scaled, we can scale it and click on this little controller. If you don't see it, just open this up and go into face controller, select it, and then you can move the face. So now we've got the face like that. We can take another face, for example, and just drag it into the face texture tab. And after that, we can scale it as well or move it around. I'm going to leave it with this face. Yeah, so now we are finished with the rig, and we can go back into the scene, delete this one, and make the city visible again. I renamed it to city, and we will look where we want the scene to take place. So I want the character to stand over here. And yeah, we will copy this object, Control C, go into a new project by hitting Control N or going back to File, New, and press Control V. Click yes. And now the scene is over here. We want to look that the bottom over here is matched with the grid. We can do that by looking like that, dragging it upwards, just so that the grid disappeared. After that, we can go back into Enable Access, go down to the settings or coordinates over here, delete this, press Apply, and uncheck this again. Okay, so now we've got the scene. Go back to Window, Content Browser. Oh, first of all, we are in the project scene and we want to save it. Go to File, Save, go into the tutorials folder or wherever you want to save it, and you can call it with the date in order to keep it simple. I'm just going to name it tutorial. Okay, so now that we've saved it, go back into Window, Content Browser, Presets, and look for the Creative X Roblox Light Setup. We have to double click onto the render settings and onto the right Roblox Light Setup. Okay, now we've got settings over here and the render settings should already be on. We can unhide it over here and go into Shift V, Enhanced OpenGL, and go into Shadows. Then we can look how we want the light to be rotated so that the shadows match. I'm going to use them like that, and I'm going to hide that again. Okay, so now I'm going to add a camera by pressing onto the camera icon over here. We are not in the camera yet, but if we want to be in the camera, we can go onto this camera object and press on this icon, go onto object and set the focal length to 70 or something. Yeah. So now that's the view I want the thumbnail to be in. Going to put it like this and go out of the camera. Okay, so now we go back to Window and into the project where we have the skin. Click on it, edit, copy, Window, go back into the main thing and paste it in. Click yes. Okay, now we can drag it to where we like it to be. Go into the user data and maybe make it bigger. And now we can simply choose a pose. Yeah, you can use the rig by clicking on every part and moving it around over here. And where in the arms you have these settings, or you can go into the bend itself and change the strength over there of the bend. I'm going to look for a pose. Okay, so now that I finished and found the pose, be sure to Ctrl S in order to save the document. And now this is an optional step, but you can choose other materials than just the plain colors. Okay, so I loaded in some materials over here, for example this one. And if we want to change the ground with the new material, we click on the ground and go under here and look for the material that is selected. You can look for this one. There's a highlight over there. We can drag it over here, go into color, copy the hex code or the color, go onto function and select texture tags and objects. And then this pops up and we drag in the new material onto this material tab and go into projection cubic. We might want to increase the size by going into the length U and putting in something like 130 and the length V and put in 130 again. For that we can change the color of the new texture, for example, by just putting in the old color and making it a bit brighter or give it a little blue tint. Just a bit. Okay, so now we got the ground texture and we can as well load in the bricks texture. If you want to have a glass on this blue side, we can click on it and go to the glass material, name it glass. And because there is a ground behind it, we can just create a reflectance. Go into reflectance, delete the specular, go into add, GGX. Attenuation, go into additive mode and turn down the roughness, or yeah, just keep it at 10, but be sure to go into layer Fresnel and Fresnel dielectric and choose the preset glass. Okay, perfect. There will be a link in the description that shows you how you can get materials in Cinema 4D. Okay, so now I've loaded in the bricks texture. We click on the brick, look for the highlighted material, drag it up here, go to function, select texture tags and objects, drag in the new material cubic. Okay, so now we've got that. We may not want to use cubic and use the UVW mapping. And yeah, that's it. Now we can go back into the camera. And if you have different objects in the scene, you might want to select them, for example this dude over here, so that we can make better edits in Photoshop. I've selected him. Now I'm going to press Alt G so that we group him, and press Shift C and go for unparent. Okay, so now we can name it. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it null. And we take this composition tag, hold Control and drag it up to the dude. And we are going to go into object buffer and disable buffer 1, and for that enable buffer 2. We can also do that for the brick wall. Go onto the brick, click on the brick material and look for select texture tags and object. Now we've selected all the objects, press Control, oh no, we can press Alt G, go to unparent again, name it brick wall, and we can hide it for a second and look, oh, there are still some things of the wall left, so we click on this material, release those objects, and go to unparent and drag them into the brick wall as well. So now we are going to copy the composition tag another time and enable buffer 3 for that. We can unhide it, go back into the camera. Okay, so if you have finished your scene, you can go into the camera, make sure to go into render settings and the render settings are chosen, are enabled. You can save again, and now you can just go into this button or press Shift R. This may take a while. Okay, so now the render has finished and we can minimize that, and I've got the Roblox thumbnail template for you that you can open up in Photoshop. You can simply double click it and it will take you into Photoshop. So now we look into our tutorial folder or wherever you saved the project. So now you will have a multipass and a render folder. We can go into the render folder and drag it into the Photoshop thing. But first of all, we have to look at the file over here. We go into scene, double click onto this, or select the smart object, go into edit contents, and then we want to go down here, select this smart object and go onto edit content as well. Again, now we can drag in the render. Double click, rasterize it. And now we can go into the spot healing brush tool and delete or fix some things that may be buggy from the render. For example, this shadow, we don't want that. Just simply go above it with the content aware type. If we want the eyes to be looking in another direction, we can go to the lasso tool by pressing L, making a selection around the pupil. This one again. By holding shift you can make another selection to your ongoing selection. Then select the layer, Control J. So now we've just got the pupils. Oh. Hide it. Go back to this layer and remove the pupils with the spot healing brush tool. Okay, so now we re-enable it. This one, dragging like that, so he looks into his back. If the glasses are above the pupil, you can just click onto this and go to the brush mode, to the brush tool, change the scale by clicking right click and then going to size, and select the black color and just paint where the glasses are intersecting. Okay, so now if we did that, close this, press yes, save it. Now we are back in this one and we want to go into the folder where we saved the project and go into multipass. So there we have all the multipasses and we have 1, 2 and 3. Select all of them, drag them into the project, press enter 3 times, rasterize all of them. We want to separate the selection. Select the upper layer, go into select, color range and click on the white thing and increase the fuzziness to something about 150. Press OK. And now we've got the selection, and in order to save it, press onto the layer mask tool. Now we can hide this one, go to the next layer, select, color range, select this one, OK, and hide it again. Okay, so now that we did that 3 times, hold Alt and drag the template folder up here, enable it, open it up, and we want to drag this selection onto this one. So now we can hold Alt and copy this mask down there. Now we've got this highlight on the skin. Over here we can see that this is intersecting with the edge. Just go into this folder, click on this layer mask, take the brush, make it soft, make sure it's black, and we can paint over here so that we don't have this black this edge over here. We can name it character, copy this one down here. You can change the color onto orange, call it noob skin and drag this selection, this layer mask onto here. Now we can go back into the mask and just remove the edges. Okay, we can turn down the the opacity over here. Do that for the brick wall again. Now we can delete the layer mask, and by holding Alt, we can, and pressing on this button, we have a blank layer mask. Now we can paint with white wherever we want it to be visible. Okay, so now we can make something extra. We go deselect every layer and hold Ctrl, Shift, Alt and E. Press E once. Now we've got a layer with everything that is underneath. So we take the noob skin, drag the mask onto that, right click, convert to smart object, go to filter, blur gallery and path filter. So now we have the path over here and we can add a motion blur. Dude is flying in this direction, so we want to go that direction. Increase the speed, check high quality, and if you wish you can turn up the taper effect. Then press OK. Group it by selecting it and pressing Ctrl G. Take the layer mask again, drag it onto here and invert it by pressing Ctrl I. So now we've got it just around the edge, and if we wish to add it onto the edges as well, we can take the brush tool, make it white and draw around the edges. If we wish, we can turn down the opacity, and we can do the same thing with this guy over here. Make sure to save in between. Okay, so if we're done, we can simply close the file, Ctrl W and hit save. That's very important because we're just in the smart object. Okay, so now we're back in the main document. We want to save it. Going to name it tutorial. Okay, so now we are already quite far. If you wish to add some other things, we already have a color correction over here, which is enabled in the CC group. Then we have the Roblox logo, and under here you can change the sky. I'm going to go with this sky with clouds. You can delete the other ones. Go into name tag. If you wish to add a name tag, you can drag it to here and press T, that you're in text tool, and add a name. I'm just going to hide it over here. Then we have the blue folder. There are a lot of assets, for example this text. We can put it over here. T for text tool and maybe write escape. You can scale it over here. So now we've got the text escape. We've got a question mark. You can scale it by pressing Ctrl T. Then scaling it. We're going to hide that. We have another text with verses or another text that you can change. Then we have arrow shape. If you wanted to be pointing over here, or another arrow that might indicate the escape of the person. And yeah, over here we got the speed lines. Going to hide the escape text and enable the arrow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to hide the arrow as well. Okay, so after that you can save the document. Go to File, Export, and then Export As. and you can choose JPEG, quality 100%, and just leave everything as it is and click onto export. Then you can, we've got the name tutorial JPEG and hit save. So now you have the finished thumbnail in the folder, wherever you saved it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.